I've never done this before, so I don't even know if I need to like test the sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a beautiful day. I've had too much caffeine and we're ready to roll, really. I think this is the volume that I'm going to be talking at. I don't think there'll be any squealing or screaming or shouting or even any whispering. I'm ready to do this. Today I'm going to show you how to put together a 5-year plan that literally no one has asked for. This is Mark Manson's Build a Better Life course. He gives you an overview of what you could potentially have in the next 5 years if you were to follow a functional system of consistent daily habits. Now, I know that it can be daunting to think as far ahead as 5 years, but having this plan will allow you to stay on course, but also course correct and totally go off course. For example, I've done 2 of these in the space of a year because the first time I did it, I was a completely different person with a completely different way of looking at life. And I course corrected and now my life is completely different to what I planned previously. And I think that's what we call growing up. And I also showed the same course to a friend, and it wasn't after she put it all together that she realized she didn't even want to be this person. And I think my point is that by breaking down the narrative that we put ourselves in, we're able to really see the purpose of our ambitions. And when it comes down to it, we have to ask ourselves, do I even want this? And I think the more honest we are to ourselves, I think the closer we'll be to our ideal life. And as for my friend and I think we're both very content with the trajectory that we chose. But I don't think we could have known or been able to work towards that if we didn't do Mark Manson's Build a Better Life course. How's that for an advertisement, Marky? So the first thing you want to do is to grab your laptop, here's one I prepared earlier, and open up a document. Write down everything you want to do before you die. And if you need some inspiration, here's a couple. This is a little embarrassing, but I believe if you put something out in the universe, you know, the law of attraction, all of that stuff, it'll come back, you know? It'll just kind of like when you throw a, not a didgeridoo, when you throw a boomerang. It's like when you throw a boomerang and it'll come back, I think. Anyway, found my lifelong partner who is just as passionate about the human experience and is on the same wavelength as me. It's a long shot, but it's a possible scenario, and yeah, so if you're listening and it sounds like you should boomerang to me. Not a didgeridoo. London, New York, the Philippines, Canada, Germany, Spain, Peru, Asia. I love how I couldn't be bothered listing all the countries that make up Asia, so I just said Asia, like Asia, whatever. So the purpose of this exercise is to get really excited about all the opportunities at hand. Nothing at this point is out of reach, and you might even be able to work out how to achieve those goals as we go on. The next step, I think that's step 2. I'm going to make a mental note right now to label these steps because it can be very confusing. The next step is to write down what your ideal life would look like in 5 years. And it's okay if you don't have anything straight away. Perhaps look at what you wrote previously in the first step and start playing around with those ideas. Or if you're bombarded with these ideas and you're like, there's not enough time, even though it's 5 years, totally me, maybe it's time to narrow down on what's most important to you. The next step is just like the last step, so the third step is like the second step, but what you're going to do instead is project your life a year from now. And make sure that this is attainable and actionable because we're about to get real. And it's okay if you only have one thing that you want to achieve at the end of the year. This is kind of like a way to build that momentum. In step 4, it's time to really analyze your life and consider reading out the activities that aren't serving you or moving you towards your ideal life. So for this exercise, you're going to create a table with 3 columns: activities, time, and value. In the activities section, you're going to write down all the things you do in a week. Ignore the little things like brushing your teeth or having a shower. Unless you brush your teeth for an hour or you shower for an hour, then maybe you should stop doing that. In the time section, you're going to estimate how much time you spend per week doing those activities. And then in the third column, you're going to evaluate from 1 to 10 how much fulfillment you get from that activity. Now, in a perfect world, I must set my laptop down for this. In a perfect world, the activities that you spend a lot of your time doing should have high value numbers. Conversely, with activities you don't spend a lot of your time doing should have low value numbers. But, sorely for most of us, this isn't the case. For example, if you dedicate 50 hours of your time to a job you value poorly, it can be hard to imagine better days. And you might also find that on your 2 days off, or your 1 day off, God forbid, that going out on the odd Saturday night and watching Netflix isn't enough to achieve that happiness barometer. And for these people, the answer is clear. If you calculate the amount of hours slept to hours worked in an average working week, the ratio is pretty much 50-50. Among commutes, getting up, having breakfast, your job takes up a lot of your life, which makes it absolutely necessary that you like it. Now, I understand that this might be a naive, a shallow ideal, but God forbid that I, a privileged millennial of 21 years of age, have the opportunity to make life as fulfilling as possible, even dream of having a meaningful career. I guess I can only speak for people in my position who don't see that. But I must make this observation. Fix the job search. Earn less things if you have to, and if there's a will, there's probably a way. Now that we know what we need to work on, we need to create one habit that will allow us to live our best lives. This part is integral because it takes 1 to 2 months of a habit to become a behavior. But don't freak out. I could see you freaking out. This course is not designed to achieve an overnight success. It's a journey. It's about who you become when you achieve these goals, not so much achieving the goals themselves. What I mean is, when I first had a crack at this, I had no idea that I was capable of owning a business at 20, of producing and directing an EP, or even producing a short film without any proper film experience. And I think the difference between you and I, the only difference between you and I, is that I had a plan, and soon you will too. Now for the last and final step, I've forgotten to number the steps, so I'll just leave the description of timestamps below. I'm going to create the backbone of our system. And what I mean is, we're going to review what we wrote in step 2 when we envisioned our life 5 years from now, and identify 3 to 5 broad long-term goals. And for each goal, we're going to create a table of 2 columns and 5 rows. In the first column, you're going to label as follows: 1 year, month, week, and day. In the next column, you're going to write down all the tasks in that year, in that month, in that week, in that day that are going to help you achieve that long-term goal. For example, my long-term goal is to move out, to have enough money to move out and be financially stable. I mean, as financially stable as any poor uni student can be. So in 1 year, I will endeavour to save up $4,000 of upfront living expenses. In 1 month, I'll endeavour to save $200 a month to reach that 1 year goal. In 1 week, I'll promise myself, or at least attempt, to only eat out once a week, to make as many homemade meals as possible, possibly meal prep on a Sunday if I have time. And then my daily habit action would be to think twice about my purchases. Do I really need that vegan chocolate fudge brownie? Probably not. I'll have a macaroni instead, that's $1 cheaper. And congratulations, you now have a 5-year plan that you didn't really ask for. Sharing is caring, I think. And you can thank Mark Manson because I'm simply his disciple. And I haven't really figured out a way to end these kind of videos, so I'm just gonna end it here. Bye!